Give me a few minutes and I'll show you how regular people hit $10,000 in a year without misery budgeting.
We'll automate Pay Yourself First into a high-yield savings account, set a flexible 50-30-20, and slash the bills that quietly drain cash.
You'll get 2 anti-impulse tricks, 1 simple side hustle, and the right debt attack. Snowball or Avalanche.
Stay to the end to see exactly what to do after 10K, so your momentum never dies.
Educational content only, not financial advice.
Click subscribe, ring that bell, and stay until the very end.
Okay, I want you to think about a big financial goal right now. Maybe the biggest, most intimidating one you can imagine. For a lot of us, that's probably saving like $10,000. But what if we shrink that down? Because let's be real, $10,000 sounds, well, huge, almost like a fantasy.
Oh, absolutely. Feels like climbing a mountain, definitely.
Right.
But here's the simple math, and it's kind of surprising. If you decide, okay, I'm saving $10,000 in 1 year, 12 months, you're really just aiming for about $833 a month.
Okay.
And break that down even more. It's roughly $28 a day. So when you switch how you look at it from $10,000 to just $28, well, it stops being this.
Real quick, hit subscribe, bell on, and let me know what you think.
Impossible dream. It just becomes, a line item in your budget.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really the mission for today's deep dive. If you're listening and you're just tired of feeling that knot in your stomach about money, that financial anxiety, we're aiming to give you a clear, practical roadmap. This is based on real-world U.S. financial blueprints to actually save that first $10,000 in 1 year. And it's not just about, finding loose change. It's about building the systems, getting the psychology right so that saving actually sticks.
And that $10,000 mark, it really is a kind of magic number right now. It's often that first real goal people hit, especially now in the current U.S. climate, like 2024, going into 2025, inflation's been high, everything costs more. So having that 10 grand in the bank, it's a huge psychological shift. It really moves you from just like scraping by, surviving, to actually having some breathing room, some real options.
Right.
And we're actually seeing this trend the sources are calling revenge saving. It's interesting. People are so fed up with feeling vulnerable financially that they're aggressively building up emergency funds. It actually pushed the U.S. personal savings rate up from about 4.1% to 4.9% just in early 2025. People are actively looking for that buffer. They want that security.
Okay, so before we jump into the 5 specific strategies to actually get that $10K, we kind of had to talk about what stops us, right? The things that always seem to sabotage our best intentions, these like invisible enemies hiding in our bank accounts.
Yeah, we have to face it. I mean, the whole consumer finance system, it's really built to encourage spending, not saving. Just is. So the most common traps, they're often simple behavioral things like just not really knowing where your money's going because, well, you don't have a budget. Or impulse spending, especially online now, right?
Yeah.
1 click and it's done.
There you go. Too easy.
And the really big one, that crippling high-interest debt, mostly credit cards. The data on this is pretty stark, actually. Right now, about 33% of Americans have more credit card debt than they have in their entire emergency savings. Think about that.
Wow. That's a huge hole to dig out of before you even start saving.
Exactly. It's a massive barrier to just feeling stable.
And it feels like there are these newer psychological hurdles, too, things that make saving feel impossible, even if you're making decent money, like the first one, lifestyle creep.
Oh, yes. The silent wealth killer. Absolutely. Lifestyle creep, it's this tendency we have. As soon as our income goes up, our spending goes up right along with it. Maybe you get a bigger car payment or move to a fancier apartment or just start eating out more often. You get that, say, $10,000 raise you work so hard for, but instead of saving it, you just absorb it into higher monthly bills. And this is why you see even people earning 6 figures saying they feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Okay, but that brings up a deeper question, doesn't it? If people are earning more but still feel poor, is it just lifestyle creep or is there something else going on?
That's a really good point. It often connects to the other big barrier we're seeing more of, which some people are calling money dysmorphia.
Money dysmorphia.
Yeah, it's a term that's kind of popped up, especially on social media. It describes that feeling of just never having enough money, ever. Even if objectively you look at your finances and you're stable. You might have a great salary, benefits, whatever. But because you're constantly seeing these like perfect curated lives online, the vacations, the houses, the clothes.
Subscribe now, tap the bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments.
On Instagram or TikTok, you just feel inadequate. You feel poor by comparison.
The comparison trap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really highlights that saving isn't just about spreadsheets and numbers. It's deeply, profoundly a state of mind. You kind of have to conquer that comparison game first.
So what's fascinating then is the goal isn't just saving the $10,000. It's like building up this psychological defense system against all these things so the money you save actually stays saved.
Precisely. You need the system and the mindset.
Okay, so let's fight psychology with, well, pure system design then. What's the number one strategy the sources point to for building that initial defense?
It really comes down to automation. Strategy 1, pay yourself first. This is like the bedrock principle because it directly tackles that emotional spending, that impulse stuff, by just taking the money out before your brain even really processes that it was available to spend.
Okay, wait though. If we just talked about money dysmorphia, that feeling of never having enough, won't automatically pulling out, say, $833 a month maybe make that anxiety worse at first? Like you feel even poorer faster?
It's a brilliant point. And yeah, the sources do acknowledge that. That initial, like, whoa, where'd my money go? Feeling is real. The key, the absolute key is when you set up the transfer. It has to happen immediately after your paycheck hits, like the very same day. The money goes from your checking straight to your savings before you pay rent, before you pay utilities, before anything else.
Okay, so it resets your baseline.
Exactly. It resets your perceived reality. You then look at your checking account and you think, okay, this is what I actually have available to spend this month. Financial experts are super clear on this. When you don't see the money easily accessible, you just won't have the same urge to spend it. So you set that target transfer, maybe the full $833 monthly, or if you get paid every 2 weeks, like a lot of Americans, you do $385 each paycheck, 26 times a year.
Right. Makes sense. You basically normalize that $833 as already spent just on future you. Okay, so that leads right into strategy 2. Use smart tools. And specifically, we're talking high-yield savings accounts or HYSAs, because if you're doing all this hard work to save, you absolutely positively cannot just leave that cash sitting in a regular, traditional bank savings account.
Oh, please don't. You have to make that money work for you, even while you sleep. It's crucial. Most of the big traditional U.S. banks, their standard savings accounts are giving you, well, it's frankly insulting, like an average of maybe 0.40% APY.
Wow, that's nothing.
It's practically nothing. Meanwhile, you've got these competitive, totally safe, FDIC-insured online HYSAs that are routinely offering 4% APY, sometimes even more these days.
Okay, but what about someone listening who maybe only uses a local brick-and-mortar bank? Maybe they don't fully trust online banks yet. Are they just stuck getting penalized?
Well, they are definitely penalized on the return, yes. Severely. The financial difference is huge. Let's just run the numbers quickly. On a $10,000 balance, the difference between getting 0.40% interest and 4.0% interest, it's over $360 in interest, just interest, every single year.
$360, that's almost a whole month's worth of saving towards the goal.
Exactly. It really proves that idea. You need to save smarter, not just harder. Now, for folks who are hesitant about purely online banks, a couple options. Many local credit unions are starting to offer much better rates than the big banks.
Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and let me know your thoughts.
That's what's checking. Or sometimes the big traditional banks have their own online-only subsidiaries that offer those high-yield rates. So you get the name recognition, but still the good APY. You just have to look for it.
Gotcha. And there's that simple little psychological trick, too, that helps keep that money separate in your mind. Actually create a separate savings account for this goal and name it something motivating, like literally call it Emergency Fund 10K, or I saw one source suggest calling it the Impulse Spender Eater.
I like that one.
Yeah, give the money a specific job, a purpose, so you don't accidentally dip into it like it's just extra cash lying around.
Totally. That labeling makes a difference.
Okay, strategy 3. Now we build the map. Budgeting, laying the financial map. And let's be clear, this doesn't have to mean painful deprivation. It's about conscious spending.
Right. And a really good, simple starting point for most Americans, honestly, regardless of income, is the 50-30-20 rule. You've probably heard of it. Basically, 50% of your take-home pay goes towards your needs, rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, minimum debt payments, groceries, transportation, the essentials. Then 30% is allocated for Wants, things like dining out, entertainment, hobbies, shopping that's not essential. And critically, at least 20% is automatically dedicated to savings and paying down debt above the minimums.
Okay, but we have to acknowledge reality here. If you live in a high cost of living area, say New York City or anywhere in coastal California, that 50% for needs, I mean, housing alone might eat up way more than that. It might feel more like 60% or even 70% just for needs. So how do the sources suggest adapting the rule then?
Yeah, that's a super common issue. You have to see the 50-30-20 as more of a target, maybe a guideline, not some rigid, unbreakable law. If your needs category is genuinely higher, maybe 60% because of rent, well, the math is simple. You have to aggressively shrink that 30% wants category down to maybe 20% or even 10%.
Ouch.
Yeah, it means making tougher choices on the fun stuff. And that's really why having good tools becomes so important. Budgeting apps like Y&D or Mint are great for tracking digital spending automatically from credit cards and bank accounts. But we're also seeing this huge resurgence, almost a viral trend, especially with younger folks, of cash stuffing, the old envelope method.
Cash stuffing. It seems so, analog in our digital world. Why is that making such a comeback? What's the appeal, especially for maybe Gen Z or people who struggle with just swiping a card?
I think it's because it's so visual and so tangible. You physically take cash out, and you divide it into labeled envelopes for your flexible spending categories, maybe groceries, gas, entertainment, eating out.
Okay.
And the rule is simple. When the cash in an envelope is gone, the spending in that category stops until the next payday, period. There's this immediate feedback loop. And weirdly, seeing those envelopes stay full or only slowly depleting gives people this little dopamine hit. It reinforces the positive saving behavior in a way that just seeing numbers on a screen sometimes doesn't.
Huh. Makes sense, that physical connection to the money. Okay, now for the strategy that can really accelerate things. Strategy 4 is cutting costs, the big rock debate. And we absolutely have to talk about and kind of debunk the tired old latte fallacy.
Oh, yes, please. The myth that if you just skip your daily Starbucks, you'll magically become wealthy. Look, cutting a $4 or $5 daily coffee habit, yeah, it saves you money, maybe around $1,500, $1,800 a year, something like that, which is not nothing. But alone, that is simply not enough to hit a $10,000 savings goal quickly, especially if you're ignoring the much larger fixed costs in your budget. So yeah, those microcuts are fine. They can help build momentum, maybe make you feel like you're starting, but they can't be your whole strategy.
The real leverage, the real game, is in the big wins. Focusing your energy on negotiating the big recurring fixed bills. Things like your rent, if possible, but definitely car insurance, homeowners or renters insurance, your internet bill, maybe trimming down streaming subscriptions. Because optimizing those can yield hundreds of dollars back into your budget every single month, often with just a one-time effort.
Exactly. Think about that $1,800 saved over a year by skipping coffee. Okay. Now compare that to making one phone call to your internet or cable provider. We hear these stories all the time. People just call up, mention to competitors offering a lower price, maybe threaten politely to switch, and boom, they knock 30, 40, 40, 50 bucks off their monthly bill instantly.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Right.
A 40-month saving is $480 a year from maybe a 10, 15-minute phone call. Then you shop around for car insurance online, find a better deal, save $75 a month. That's another $900 a year. You see, focusing on those big rocks, those big recurring expenses, it just accelerates your savings so much faster than sweating the small stuff.
Totally. And here's a quick behavioral tactic I love for curbing those smaller impulse buys too. Implement the 24-hour rule.
Ah, yes, go ahead.
You see something non-essential you want to buy, especially online, could be a gadget, clothes, whatever, just put it in your shopping cart. But force yourself to wait a full 24 hours before you actually click buy.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, and I've experienced this myself, 80% of the time, after sleeping on it, the desire just evaporates. The emotional urge is gone, and you save yourself the money and often the later regret.
That's a great simple hack. Love it.
Okay, so let's say you've done all that. You've automated your savings into an HYSA. You've got a budget system working. You've negotiated all the big rocks down. But you're still maybe short of that $833 a month target, or you just want to get there faster. The only lever left to pull is increasing the inflow. So, strategy 5, boost your income.
Right. For a lot of people in the U.S. right now, especially if you're in that lower or middle income bracket and facing these really high living costs, honestly, finding ways to earn more money can often have a much bigger, faster impact on your savings goal than trying to cut expenses further, because maybe there's just nothing left to cut.
Right.
So we're talking about side hustles.
And these don't have to be some huge complicated thing, right? Like starting a whole second business.
Not at all. They can be really specific, skill-based gigs that you do in your spare time. The sources mention things like maybe taking on small logo design projects on sites like Fiverr or Upwork. People pay $50, $150 for a simple logo. Or if you have a particular skill, like you're good at math or writing, maybe tutoring high school students online for $40, $50 an hour. Or even things like pet sitting or dog walking on weekends, which can be surprisingly lucrative in some areas.
Yeah, people love their pets.
They do.
Yeah.
Or even just aggressively selling stuff you don't need anymore on Facebook Marketplace or eBay. Declutter your house and make cash. The point is, earning even an extra, say, $500 to $1,000 a month through a consistent side hustle, it dramatically speeds up reaching that $10,000 goal. Think about it. If you've already automated saving $833 and then you bring in an extra $500 from a side gig, well, you're nearly doubling your savings rate.
Yeah.
You'll hit the goal way faster.
Makes total sense. Okay, and building on that income boost, the final piece of the puzzle seems to be purely behavioral. It's about gamification and mindset. Basically, making saving feel less like a chore and more like, well, a game you can win. Because saving money consistently, month after month, requires discipline, and games help with that.
Absolutely. We need ways to stay motivated, especially when it feels like a long slog. The sources highlight some popular techniques here, like the 52-week challenge. You save $1 in week 1, $2 in week 2, all the way up to $52 in the last week. It adds up to almost $1,400, $1,387 to be exact, by the end of the year. It starts easy and builds momentum. Or people doing no-spend challenges, maybe for a week or a whole month, where you only spend on absolute necessities. These little challenges, these quick wins, they're really vital. They give you that sense of accomplishment, that motivation boost that just looking at a spreadsheet often can't provide.
And this whole idea of psychology versus math leads us right into one of the most classic debates in all of personal finance, one that perfectly illustrates this tension between the optimal mathematical choice and what actually works for human beings. The debt snowball versus debt avalanche debate.
Oh yeah, the classic showdown. This is such a perfect example of how the best financial decision on paper isn't always the best decision for you. So mathematically speaking, the debt avalanche method is superior, no question.
Right. Explain that one quickly.
With the avalanche, you list all your debts and you focus all your extra payments on the debt with the absolute highest interest rate first, while just making minimum payments on everything else. Once that highest interest debt is gone, you take all the money you were putting towards it and attack the debt with the next highest interest rate, and so on. This approach saves you the most money on interest payments over the long run. Pure math.
Okay. But then there's the snowball, which often wins in terms of like actual human follow-through.
Precisely. The debt snowball method ignores interest rates, mostly.
Well,
Instead, you list your debts from the smallest balance to the largest balance. You put all your extra payments towards knocking out that smallest debt first, regardless of its interest rate, while paying minimums on the others.
so you get a win faster.
Exactly. You get a much quicker psychological victory. You completely eliminate an entire debt account relatively fast. And for a lot of people, especially those who maybe feel overwhelmed by debt or struggle with sticking to long-term plans, that win, that feeling of crossing a debt off the list, is incredibly motivating. It gives them the fuel to keep going and tackle the next smallest debt and the next, even if, yes, they end up paying slightly more in total interest compared to the avalanche method.
So it really depends on your personality.
Totally.
Yeah.
The sources are pretty much unanimous on this. The best debt repayment strategy is whichever one you will actually stick with consistently until the debt is gone. Math brain or motivation brain, pick your fighter.
And we've also seen, kind of related to this, the rise of what some are calling soft saving, especially maybe among younger generations like Gen Z. This idea that saving plans have to be sustainable. They need to integrate things like mental health breaks, maybe allowing for some experiences, rather than demanding this extreme hardcore frugality that just makes you miserable and likely to quit.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Saving has to fit into your actual life. If your plan makes you utterly miserable, you're probably not going to stick with it for the full year needed to hit $10 or beyond. It needs to be sustainable.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. What does this all really mean for someone listening who wants that $10,000 saved?
Well, successfully hitting that $10,000 goal in 1 year, based on everything we've looked at, really requires integrating 3 key things. First, you need a solid, almost non-negotiable system. That's your automation. Paying yourself first and using that high-yield savings account. Make the system do the heavy lifting. Second, you need a conscious strategy. That means having a budget your financial map and focusing on cutting those big rock expenses, not just the lattes. And third, you need to manage the psychology. That's where gamification comes in, finding a debt plan, Snowball or Avalanche, that fits you, and building those defenses against lifestyle creep and comparison.
System strategy, psychology, got it. And hitting that $10,000, I mean, it's an incredible milestone, a huge first step towards feeling secure. But like you said earlier, hitting it is really just the beginning of building real long-term financial stability and wealth. The next steps after that are actually pretty critical too. So here's maybe a final provocative thought for you to chew on after this deep dive.
Okay, you did it. You saved the $10. Amazing. Now what? What do you actually do after you hit that first big goal? Yeah, that's the crucial next question. And the sources generally outline a very clear, logical sequence for what comes next to build long-term security. First, you solidify that $10K, maybe build it up a bit more until it represents a full 6 months worth of essential living expenses. That's your true emergency fund, your safety net.
Yes, months.
Second, once the emergency fund is solid, you pivot focus to maximizing tax-advantaged retirement accounts. This means, absolutely number one, contributing enough to your workplace 401k or equivalent to get the full employer match. That's free money. Don't leave it on the table. And then likely funding a Roth IRA if you're eligible because of the tax-free growth and withdrawals in retirement.
Right. Tax advantages are key.
Huge. And only after that emergency fund is full and you're maximizing those tax-advantaged accounts, only then should you really start moving on to step 3. Investing in a regular taxable brokerage account, likely using low-cost diversified index funds or ETFs for long-term growth.
Emergency fund, tax-advantaged accounts, then taxable investing. That seems like the real path to getting beyond just saving and into actually building wealth and finally ditching that financial anxiety for good.
Wow. Okay, that was a lot, but hopefully super practical. If this deep dive gave you that aha moment, or maybe just the kickstart you needed, definitely make sure to subscribe or follow us so you don't miss the next one.
And we genuinely want to hear from you on this, especially on that debt question. When you were tackling high-interest debt, which path did you take? Were you Team Debt Avalanche, focusing purely on the math? Or Team Debt Snowball, going for those quick psychological wins?
Yeah, share your experience in the comments below. We love reading those stories, especially the victory laps when people knock out debt. Let us know what worked for you.